All right, let's jump back in time, about 800 years, into medieval India. We're going to explore a real powerhouse of an empire, the Delhi Sultanate. For more than 3 centuries, this was pretty much the center of the world for the subcontinent. Let's find out why.
And really, it all comes down to this one central question. How on earth did 5 totally different families, one right after the other, manage to rule this huge, complex empire from a single city for 320 years?
So, to even begin to answer that, we've got to get clear on what the Sultanate actually was. Okay, so here's the thing. The Delhi Sultanate wasn't just one single empire. It was actually a series of 5 different Muslim dynasties that, one by one, took their turn ruling over a massive chunk of the Indian subcontinent. And they did it all from their capital, their command center in Delhi.
And they held that power for an incredible 320 years. I mean, to put that into perspective, that's almost 100 years longer than the United States has even been a country. It's just a staggering amount of time for one city to dominate.
We're talking about the period that officially kicked off in 1206 and ran all the way to 1526. You can really think of it as this crucial bridge that connects ancient India to its early modern future. It was a time of massive, massive change.
So, who were these 5 families anyway? Well, the best way to wrap your head around the Sultanate's history is to think of it like a big saga, told in 5 chapters. Let's meet the dynasties who sat on that throne in Delhi.
So the story gets started in 1206 with the Mamluks, sometimes called the Slave Dynasty because it was founded by a former slave who rose all the way up to become sultan. After them came the Khaljis, then the super-powerful Tughlaqs. Following them, the Sayyids had their turn, and finally the Lodi dynasty was in charge right up until the end in 1526. Each one had its own story, its own rise and fall, but together they make up this one long, dramatic history.
And you know, these rulers weren't all from the same place. For most of the Sultanate's run, the dynasties were Turkic. They came from Central Asia. But look at what happens at the very end. The last dynasty, the Lodis, were Afghan. Now, that signals a really big shift in the power dynamics of the whole region.
Okay, so we've got these dynasties ruling for centuries, but just how far did their power actually stretch? Let's take a look at the empire at its absolute peak.
It was under that 3rd dynasty, the Tughlaqs, that the Sultanate just exploded. Its influence stretched across almost the entire Indian subcontinent. I mean, it was an immense, sprawling territory. Just try to imagine controlling all of that from one city with medieval technology. It's kind of mind-blowing.
Controlling that much territory for that long is bound to leave a deep mark, right? So what was the Sultanate's lasting legacy? Why does this 320-year period still matter so much today?
Well, the Sultanate's rule was really an engine of huge transformation. Politically, they brought in new, centralized ways of running the government. Culturally, it sparked this fusion that led to incredible Indo-Islamic architecture and even new languages. And socioeconomically, it plugged India deeper into this growing network of global trade. It truly fundamentally reshaped the subcontinent.
So, when you boil it all down, the Delhi Sultanate was so much more than just a list of dynasties. It was a pivotal 320-year era that completely reshaped the political, cultural, and social landscape of India. It basically set the stage for the next great empire that would follow, the Mughals.
And that leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to think about. What happens to art, to culture, to the very identity of a place when centuries of immense power are all concentrated in one single dominant city? That right there, that is the enduring legacy of the Delhi Sultanate.